The night the stars fell and the world forgot to breathe, nobody screamed. There were no sirens, no warnings, no breaking news. Just a stillness that draped itself over the earth like a heavy curtain, muffling sound, stealing wind, and silencing even the most stubborn machines. It began quietly, as most things that change the world often do, not with a bang, but a pause. In the quiet town of Elmswood, 16-year-old Maya Jensen sat on her bedroom floor, a candle flickering by her feet as she tried to write a letter she didn't intend to send. The words weren't for anyone else, they were for herself, a confession she'd kept bottled for too long, a scream she'd never let out. It had been a year since her older brother, Leo, passed away. A car accident. He was supposed to be dropping her off at school. He'd been laughing, teasing her about a boy she liked. Then screeching tires. Broken glass. Blood. And then, nothing. Since then, the world had gone on without him, but Maya hadn't. She went to school, nodded at teachers, answered questions when called on. But inside, she was frozen. Heavy. Quiet. Like a world forgetting to breathe. That night, something strange pulled her to the window. At first, it was just a feeling, a whisper in her bones. She pulled the curtains aside and looked up. The stars, usually scattered like glitter across a dark canvas, were moving. Not twinkling. Moving. Slowly, deliberately, they shifted, each one falling from its place in the sky. Some shot across like streaks of fire. Others descended gently, like snow. She opened the window, and instead of cold air rushing in, there was nothing. No sound. No wind. Even the trees stood still. All over town, lights flickered and died. Cell phones turned black. Street lamps blinked out. People emerged from their homes, dazed and uncertain. No one knew what to say. And then it happened, a hum, deep, low, and almost alive, rolled through the earth, through the sky, through every living thing. Maya fell to her knees, hands clutched to her chest. Not because it hurt, but because something inside her had cracked open. Across town, a young boy named Eli sat with his grandmother on their porch. He was autistic and rarely spoke, and his grandmother, worn by life but held together by love, always said, "Eli doesn't need words. He feels louder than anyone else." That night, when the stars fell, Eli stood, walked down the steps barefoot, and reached toward the sky. His grandmother watched as tears streamed down his face, not of fear, but recognition, as if he knew something no one else did. She followed him, heart pounding, and for the first time in months, he turned to her and whispered, "They remember us." In every corner of the world, the same thing was happening. People who hadn't cried in years broke down in streets. Strangers hugged without knowing why. Enemies stood across borders and put their weapons down. The stars had fallen, not to destroy, but to awaken. And in doing so, they stole away the distractions, the noise, the machines that kept people from hearing their own hearts. Maya wandered outside in her pajamas, barefoot on the pavement. The sky was alive above her, stars floating just above rooftops like glowing lanterns, soft and warm. One hovered close to her, close enough to touch. It didn't speak, but it didn't need to. A warmth spread through her chest, filling cracks she didn't know were still there. Images flashed in her mind, Leo, smiling. Leo, dancing in the kitchen. Leo, looking at her the day he died, saying, "It's gonna be okay, kiddo." And suddenly, she believed it. Across the world, people were healing. Not magically, not instantly. But the silence, the pause, it gave them a moment to remember what they'd forgotten, how to feel, how to forgive, how to be human again. People who hadn't spoken to their families in years picked up the phone, though the lines were dead, the stars made sure their voices were heard. Farmers stood with corporate executives, artists sat beside scientists, children sat in circles with elders, listening. The stars showed no judgment, only presence. They came closer, not to take over, but to remind us of the rhythm we'd lost. The hum returned, this time gentler, like a lullaby sung from the fabric of the universe. And then, as suddenly as they had come, the stars began to rise again, each one slowly lifting into the sky, back to its place, as if they had done what they came to do. In the days that followed, power returned. The internet flickered back. Engines started. But something had shifted permanently. People no longer walked past each other with heads down. They made eye contact. Smiled. The news wasn't just bad stories, it was stories of kindness, rebuilding, reunion. Schools started teaching meditation and empathy. Cities planted trees instead of billboards. Not everywhere. Not perfectly. But the change had begun. Maya kept the candle from that night. She placed it next to Leo's picture, not as a symbol of mourning, but as a beacon of memory. She began writing again, not letters of grief, but of hope. She joined a group at school that helped other students who had lost someone. She listened more. Hugged longer. She even smiled with her whole face again. The stars never spoke a word. But the message was clear. In our rush to become everything, we forgot how to be anything. In our pursuit of noise, we drowned out the sound of our own souls. But on the night the stars fell, the world remembered. And breathed. And for the first time in a long time, it was enough.